welcome to Long Story Short Blind Date. I'm Dana West, the programming coordinator here at the Long Center. For this special blind date edition of the show, we put two Austin creatives together who will meet for the first time on screen. Our guests don't know who the other person is that they'll be sharing the screen with, but they've been told some general information, much the same way a blind date works in the dating world. But instead of a romantic connection, we're hoping that we'll create a creative connection and learn more about who the other person is and what keeps them going. All right, guys, here we go.
Oh, hello.
Hi, guys. Welcome to your blind date.
What's going on?
Santiago RD meets Stephanie Bergara.
Hi.
And I'll let you guys talk.
Okay, great. Hi there.
Hi.
We have not met. I was so nervous for two reasons. First, I was like, I don't know if this person is going to think what I'm doing is cool or not as a musician. And also, like, I haven't been on any kind of date in a very long time. So happy to be here.
That's so funny. Likewise, yeah. I guess because it's Latinx Heritage Month, we could say mucho gusto.
Yeah, mucho gusto.
And this is awesome. I've never been on a blind date myself, I don't think.
Yeah.
I'm engaged now, so I just all of it seems kind of weird.
Yeah, well, we're happy to be here. So you want to go ahead and give me your long story short? We have not met, and I feel like Latinx music in Austin is so small, or it can feel so small. So you assume that you know everyone, but we've never met. So please tell me more about yourself.
For sure, and I guess my name is Santiago. My full name is Santiago Rafael Dichi. I was born in Austin, Texas, to Colombian mother and an American father. They both came here from college in around 1990 and just sort of started a life here and never left. I've been involved in the music scene since I was about 15, and I guess probably because we haven't met, I have really never been involved in Latinx music in Austin. I've always almost exclusively played in bands with non-Latinx people, not necessarily all white guys or white women or otherwise, but I feel like I've always been sort of adjacent to this very non-Latinx, non-Hispanic sort of situation. And it's been an interesting upbringing too, to sort of like know my culture because my background is also Colombian with my mother, but also it's been an interesting sort of upbringing into getting to learn about all sorts of Latin music, and especially in a time like today, I've been super intrigued by everything, only because it's always been a part of me, but having the time to really expand my knowledge and really get to know other things these days has been my way of sort of connecting with my heritage as well. So super stoked to meet you, and love to hear about yours as well.
Well, what bands are you playing in right now? Are you playing music with anyone in particular?
Yeah, so I have my own project called Daphne Tunes here in town, and we're sort of like an indie rock band. So, and that's the music I've always played in a lot of ways. So I guess that's why I'm maybe always been more adjacent to non-Latinx specific sort of groups of people and thus music scenes. But I feel like I'm also sort of involved in a lot of projects, but that's really my main group. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, I'm happy to meet you. So I like you, I'm a born and raised Austinite. I'm a third generation Mexican American. I come from super blue collar parents who, when I told them I wanted to do music for the rest of my life, their biggest concern was, how are you going to make money?
Yeah.
Like that's always the biggest question. So third generation Mexican American. I grew up in Austin listening to Tejano music and like super engulfed in this culture. And, even past high school, I graduated from Del Valle High School, way out on the east side. And I went to the University of Texas at San Antonio, where I spent more time listening to music than I did any studies whatsoever. I was just taking in as much Tejano music and Tejano culture as I possibly could. In the vein of that, I grew up, of course, listening to Selena. So with that in mind, when it was time to start my band, I actually was a music industry professional before I was working in a band, which I do now. I was a booking agent and a manager and a publicist, and I wanted to learn how to do all the things behind the scenes so that when I was ready to start my band, I wouldn't have to ask or depend on anyone for help. I could do it, and I could have some semblance of how to do a contract, how to book a tour, how to write a press release. So, the part where I struggle the most is with creating original music. So, you know, we would play these shows with my little trio bandmates and we would sing songs and things like that, but nothing was really catching. So I had to kind of pull together an idea for what people would want to listen to and what people would like. And I'm like, Selena. So I started a Selena tribute band. My band is called Bitty Bitty Banda. We are,
I know you.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I do Bitty Bitty Banda. It's all Selena songs with this project in particular. The goal was never to do it forever. You know, it's actually, we did it one time. I used to be an assistant talent buyer for a festival in town called Pachanga. And
Pachanga, that's awesome.
yes, Viva la
Oh,
Pachanga. So
absolutely.
so we were looking for something that could be really fun and dynamic for our opening night party. And I'm like, I could do Selena, you know, and I was already doing this little band. And they're like, good, the festival organizers were like, go, do it.
Yeah.
So I put a 10-piece band together and we played, our first show ever was to a capacity crowd at the Empire Control Room. That was 6 years ago, almost 7 years ago. And I never looked back. So, I mean, we have been playing shows. It's, you know, it's just been me basically catching up with people wanting the demand. I didn't realize that people would be so into a Selena tribute band, but we've played everywhere from New Orleans to Chicago to Denver, LA, and all across the country, everywhere in between. Mm-hmm. And it's become kind of a lucrative second career for me. So that is my long story short. About 2 years ago, I slowed down from 100 miles per hour to about 85 miles per hour because I had a baby, I had a little boy.
Congrats.
Thank you. He's going to be 3 next month, and I can't even believe it. But he loves music, and I think he knows more Selena songs than any 3-year-old in the world, probably. But he likes it. It's fun for him. I think.
What's your favorite to perform?
My favorite Selena. No Me Queda Más is my favorite. I love the mariachi vibes. Yeah, like it really resonates with me. Just kind of life experiences and things like that. So yeah, 2 Austinites. We're like unicorns. There are no Austinites. Yeah, apparently.
I know a ton of Austinites. You know,
I know. I feel like
you do too.
Yeah, I feel like I do too. It's like we're in hiding, and like I'm not sure. I do know, the only thing I kind of know about you that they told me was that you're a Latinx musician and you've spent a lot of your time, since we've kind of been on break is what I call it, mm-hmm. Collaborating with other musicians. So tell me a little bit more about that.
For sure, yeah. I suppose you knocked your long story short out of the park. I think I got started and then I sort of went into a very atmospheric vibe there for a second.
I've been practicing, full disclosure. Like I was very nervous and I was like,
no, you should. I think you're supposed to.
Is this guy going to think it's weird? Or is this person going to think it's weird that I'm in a tribute band? So I wanted to make sure that I really sold it.
Not at all. Yeah, so with my main project, After Teens, I mean, I've been in a bunch of different rock bands over the years, and I was in a band called Growl for much of my main chunk of my time as a musician, and it was me and my 3 best friends from UT here in Austin, and we started freshman year, maybe a little bit before that actually, because I knew everybody prior to that. But it was sort of like this band that I toured with all over the country, and also got to release multiple records with. But everybody sort of ultimately did after 8 years of really solid work on everybody's part. We all went our separate ways. Just
naturally.
Yeah, naturally. And also you get out of college, some people went to grad school, and now we all live in different cities. It seems to make the most sense. But then Daphne Tunes, which is my current project, has always been, it's all originals, and it's always been sort of like an outlet for my songwriting, which I've been doing since I started. I've never really learned an instrument per se, but always I write on the guitar, and I taught myself that, and it's always been this sort of everything is focused around writing songs rather than performing or learning things for becoming more proficient on an instrument or something like that.
Are you a singer? You're a vocalist?
Yeah, I sing as well. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's how I get away with not really learning an instrument.
Same. I don't play any instrument. I play a mean tambourine, but other than that, I can keep rhythm, but other than that, I'm not. Yeah, I can't do it.
No, totally. I mean, I guess I was blessed with a little bit of rhythm. I can keep time, relatively speaking. But I ultimately nowadays collaborate with a lot of different people over email, kind of like a server situation. But I play in a band here in town also called Pelvis Wrestling. I'm the guitarist, and it's sort of go ahead.
I just heard about that band. Didn't that band just get into the Austin Music Foundation like incubator program?
Yeah, we are one of the incubator artists. We just did a couple of singles as part of that grant situation with a producer named Frenchie Smith and his
I
partner.
love Frenchie.
Yeah, it was really fun working with Frenchie. I had a really fun time, and the singles that are coming out of it sound amazing. We took this really like glam perspective on country and rock music. So our singer is non-binary and very, very proud queer individual. And his name is Ben Violet, and he's like one of the most amazing people I've ever met. But he sort of like is the person and that is the front of the band for sure. And we connected just in a coffee shop I used to work at called Mañana. So it's like crazy how these connections just like come out of nowhere, and we're like best friends now. But I also collaborate with some people in Canada and Chicago with this group called Central Heat Exchange. So that's my long story right there, summed up in the bands I'm currently working.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So that's it's just so fascinating to me that, you know, we live in such an incredible city where there are so many opportunities to collaborate with people who you never like. Everyone's just, especially now, everyone seems so accessible. You know, another thing I do to be creative during this time, I mean, I started it in February, but it's really kind of flourished since then. But I started a podcast, and some of the people who I never thought I'd be able to get on the show are just, they're like, I'm not doing anything else, so, you know, just let me know when you want to do it. So one of the things that you know, Selena is globally known across the world. One of the things that I've been able to do since COVID-19, you know, we play so many fundraisers, and, you know, one of the rules with the banda is that we will only play a fundraising event if we all are in agreement that this is a cause we care about. Absolutely. So we've done that a bunch. We've performed a lot for various and sundry organizations. Since COVID, I've been given the opportunity to kind of, you know, walk the talk. Like, we'll show up and play for Volunteer Healthcare Clinic or Helplines for Austin musicians. This time has really given me an opportunity to not only care more about the things that I'm supporting, but also to kind of read up on them and be like, okay, there's these other outlets and these things, you know, I feel like the best thing I can do when a door is open for me, and people use Selena a lot to open doors for Latinx musicians, the best thing I can do when a door has been open for me is to make sure that it continues to stay open for people who look like me.
100%.
Yeah, so that's what I really have been focusing on doing, focusing a lot on voter rights, a lot on women's rights, and kind of, you know, I'm a 34-year-old woman at this point, and I've been in the industry in Austin for going on almost 14 years now. Yeah. So I have afforded myself the opportunity to know a lot of people and get to know a lot of what I would consider to be, and I mean this in the best way possible, what I would consider to be baby bands. Helping them kind of move along to the next thing. You know, I have a ton of support and respect for the drag community. So, you know, it's not a rare thing to come to one of our shows and there's a drag performer hosting, playing, performing her original music. Like, I want to make sure that if we have been given this window of space, that we are bringing in as many of our friends, and when I say we, I mean the banda, bringing in as many of our friends and as many people who we can support as possible. So really talking that walk has been a lot of my focus since COVID has happened.
That's amazing. I feel like, I mean, who better to be the champion of the causes than Selena, you know, like anything, you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's been really fascinating. And, you know, like I said, especially now, it's really forced us to kind of have some tough conversations about the infrastructure of our banda and the bookings that we take. You know, it is not a rarity for me to be called from some country bar in, Midland, Texas, no disrespect to Midland, super love Midland, but to be called from like some country bar and have them be like, we want to try a Latin night, can you book us? Or, you know, can you do this event? And historically I've been like, yeah, I'll take a paycheck. But, you know, with the social impact on the world and with the social responsibility that I now feel, you know, one of the things that I've also worked on since I've been home is that we have developed and are implementing in full force what I call a diversity clause into our contract. We've developed a diversity clause into our contract paperwork. And that basically means that we will not play a club if you are not booking other people of color throughout the rest of the year. We will not be we will not be the booking. If you're a festival, we will not be your booking so that you can say that you are a multicultural international festival. That's not real. That's not fair. So taking our booking practices very seriously is something I've tried to work on.
But also by contracting yourself to that, I feel like it also makes you sort of have to like take that extra step and really go and do the research about the places you're playing. Like
For sure.
That's
For sure. It is definitely starting to happen. And, you know, no one's really feeling 100% confident about booking shows yet. But the people that we have talked to about doing things, you know, they are very shook when I ask the question, who else do you have on your build, or who else do you have booked that month, or who else, you know, what else have you booked? Who else is on the lineup? They're shook when we kind of, especially, I think that we're in a little bit of a magical world that is Austin, because, like, you know, Austin has a lot of different people from different backgrounds, and, you know, you go to like a less open-minded city, you know, you see it all the time where you're just like, you're the Mexicans in town that night,
sure.
You know, like,
I was driving back from California just yesterday, and we were listening to a Brene Brown podcast. And did you hear the episode with Gina Chavez and Carrie Rodriguez?
I didn't, but I'm friends with Gina. Shout out to her, Latin Grammy nominee. Amazing.
Shout out, forever.
Forever. And I texted her that morning. I was like, guess who gets to say they're a Latin Grammy nominee for the rest of their lives? But I haven't heard that episode, or haven't been keeping up with her podcast, but I know that Gina and Carrie did a song for the podcast.
They did, yeah. It's called like Muy Podcasti or something like that.
It.
It's so funny. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they talk about it in the show, and but they had a lot of like things to point out in regards to that I guess, I mean, I'm sure you'll listen to it soon, but I felt like there were a lot of aspects and sort of anecdotes from their life that really touched on similar situations where they would maybe approach something differently if they knew more about like what was going on. Like if you playing a show and you show up and you realize that the whole cause is more of a tokenized version of what it means to be Latinx and what it means to be a Colombian American or a Mexican American. Like, you know, you're not just there to, and I'm sure plenty of people of color all around the world feel this way in America, that you're not existing in that space just so that somebody can look more diverse. You know, there has to be a conversation and an intention behind it that's a lot more, you know, understanding of what's really going on and the pure aspects. It's not just a badge you wear. You know?
For sure, absolutely. And you seem like a very in tune person within the Austin music scene. I'm sure you saw what happened with Jackie Benson and Blues on the Screen and all that stuff. I mean, like, you know, that was a huge...
Our listeners might not, so you might want to...
Yeah, so good point. So Jackie Benson is an incredible musician here in Austin. She's a guitarist. She's played on Stephen Colbert. Like, she's an incredible advocate for not just for Austin music, but for musicians. She really cares about the musicians who live in this town. A couple months ago, Blues on the Green decided to go virtual and have a performance on television called Blues on the Screen. And Jackie, well, this really was the catalyst for why I decided for that diversity contract clause. Jackie asked who else was playing, and they let her know who else is playing, and she said, I'm not going to be your token. I'm not going to be the person who you check the box and say that you're diverse. And she opted in to not playing, and there was a lot of news about that on social media. And in turn, she actually was asked to come back and do a full booking. She was the curator of the first ever Blues on the Screen, where she booked amazing talent like Kid Jones and Alessia Lani, and it was just a really pivotal moment in the turning point of what Austin music looks like in terms of equity. Equity does not always mean equality, and Jackie really was critical in making that happen. I did lose my train of thought on why we were talking about this.
Well, I feel like we're talking about this in regards to like how I just felt like we're not, you know, people of color across the board are generally not looking to be tokenized. And we were listening to the podcast with Gina and Carrie and talking about how just in general, like among all the things going on in life, maybe this is me extrapolating a little bit more, okay, but among all the things that people talk about these days, I feel like a lot of people, it's really easy to put the Black Lives Matter square on your profile picture, like take account to like say like I advocate for this, but to do the next step and actually do your research is not necessarily what everybody's doing. No fault to them or no shame to them, but it is worth noting that, you know, like just saying like we want to have a diversity night at our bar is that's not like the best. It's a great first step, but like you need to like, even just make sure you phrase it right. Like I'll play your Latinx bar night or whatever if you'd like me to, but understand that like the way you advertise it really shouldn't just be like that.
Don't put maracas and papel picado on the graphic just because you have us on your bill. You know what I mean?
Right.
The thought is not coming back to me. Oh, sorry.
I know, I'm totally loving this conversation, guys. I was gonna interrupt Speed so we can play our party game just because I'm curious to know what your 2 truths and a lie would be.
Yeah.
But the conversation has been amazing. I've really been enjoying it. So Santiago, do you want to start us off with your 2 truths and a lie? And Stephanie's going to guess which one your lie is.
Okay. I thought a lot about this because I don't know how to really do this game.
Well, I told Dana right before, I was like, depending on who it is, they will know that I'm lying. So I'm glad I'm here for it. Go.
Also, for what it's worth, they told me it was a happy hour event, so that's why I'm drinking the camera.
Cheers. Salud. Salud.
Yep. So okay, my uncle was the person to start the YMCA of Japan. My other uncle was the person to start Boy Scouts of Colombia. But I don't go to the YMCA, and I'm not a Boy Scout or anything.
I'm going to say, because the details are so specific, I'm going to say the Boy Scouts of Colombia is not true.
You know, oh, interesting. Well, I do go to the YMCA here, and I'm an Eagle Scout, and that was the lie. So the other 2 things, I thought because I was being so specific about my 2 uncles that I would for sure give myself away. But yeah, I just have some crazy uncles who did crazy things.
Don't we all have crazy uncles though? Yeah. I have very crazy uncles. I have 7 very crazy uncles, very, very crazy, very protective, very supportive uncles. Like any Latinx family will be. My uncles are like, if you ever come to one of our shows, my uncles are screaming the loudest, drinking the most, having the most fun. So God bless our crazy uncles. So, all right, I wrote mine down. Let's see here. I just don't want to get any, I don't want to miss anything. So I actually, the music is a family business. I have a little brother who is also a musician. He's a rapper, and he's based here in Austin. He's amazing. For a little while I was managing him, but he's moved on past that. He's doing his own hip hop thing, and he's incredible. Part of the reason that's the first piece. The second piece is that part of the reason why I started my Selena tribute band was, I saw Selena in concert at the Houston Astrodome when I was 8 years old, and it was everything to me. The concert was amazing, and I just really saw that, and I was like, that's what I want to do with the rest of my life. That's the second one. The third one is that I am actually, as much as I love Selena, I really am the world's biggest George Strait fan. I love George Strait more than I love anything in the world. He's my favorite musician. He is, during our shows, one of the things that I do is I will introduce my musicians and I will say where they're from, because George Strait does that on stage. So I am obsessed with George Strait. He's the love of my life, for sure. So next to my son. So those are my 3 facts.
I'm very intrigued here. You went into great detail about all 3, and I really could not discern between the 3 the passion in which you spoke about each. Just because I will be jealous if it's true, I'm going to say you never saw Selena live.
That would be correct. I never saw Selena live. I was actually 7 when she played that Houston Astrodome show. And my first concert that I actually saw that I got to pick was Boyz II Men at the Frank Erwin Center.
Okay, that's pretty sick though.
Yeah, it was legit. Frank Erwin Center, where I eventually went on to graduate high school and sing the national anthem at the Professional Bull Riding Championships while 8 months pregnant. Oh, the Professional Bull Riding Championships happened at the Frank Erwin Center, and I sang their national anthem while I was pregnant. So I've actually played the Erwin Center.
I'm so taken aback that was all the same place for a second.
Yeah, the Erwin Center is like a huge critical piece of my life. I'm kind of sad to see it going away eventually, sooner than later, actually.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, there's a new, I think they're calling it the Moody Center. Is what it was going to replace the Frank Erwin Center. There's still, I think it's a couple of years away, but I know that the Frank Erwin Center will be.
Are they knocking that down?
I think so. They're replaced. Yeah. You're a native Austinite. Do you remember when the Frank Irwin Center, they used to like refer to it as the flan because it looks like a big piece of flan?
Oh my gosh, I missed out on that piece of the memory. That's amazing. I will
So
never, I mean, there is a
you're gonna,
Flan Academic Center at the UT
yes,
already, but I think it has
yeah,
a W there. So, but Flan is right there.
yeah. The
That's
Frank
right
Irwin
there.
Center looks like a flan. It looks
You're
like a
not
big
wrong.
old piece of flan.
Uh,
So yeah, that was fun. Yeah, I never got to see Selena. She was, yeah, I was 7 when the Houston Astrodome show happened, and I was 8 when she passed away. It was a really interesting time. I'm not sure how old you are, but like, yeah, that was.
I'm 27.
You were 27. Oh, you were a
Yeah.
baby.
But I grew up, I mean, all my mom's family immigrated to Corpus Christi. So, I mean,
Oh wow.
that's where I spend Christmas and most of my Thanksgivings. And I visit the statue every year, for sure.
It's like a Texan rite of passage, especially if you're a Latinx person, to drive by the statue blasting Bitty Bitty Bom Bom at full blast. Like
I mean,
when the sun is out by the ocean, it's beautiful.
there's no contest. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Cool.
mean, my favorite Selena song is Bitty Bitty only because I'm a wedding DJ for my day job. So I feel that. I mean, that's the one I have to play. I mean, Como la Flor is my like heart of hearts favorite,
Mm-hmm.
but I always like the hits because I DJ.
No, but that's amazing. So have you been doing the DJ stuff since you've been since we've been home, or like?
I mean, yeah. So I manage a whole events company as well for my day job, sort of staying
Okay.
music focused. And when we speaking about No Shame with cover bands, I manage multiple cover bands. So
Very
people
cool.
should drop that idea that it's not cool to sing songs that have been written before.
I mean, you
So,
can interpret them however you want. One of the best compliments I've ever gotten in my life, we were actually playing an event in San Antonio called Luminaria. And, we make no bones about the fact that I don't look like Selena. I'm not a Selena looking person. I've had a baby. I'm 34. So when you come to one of our shows, you will not see me dressed as Selena. That's not one of the elements of our show.
yeah.
But one of the best compliments I've ever gotten, we played Luminaria. Afterward, I got off stage and she was probably my grandmother's age. She came up to me and she goes, "You don't look like Selena, and you don't exactly sound like her, but she's like, but it's there. The like the aura is there." And I'm like, "That's all I wanted to do, lady." So, I mean, if we're capturing that, that's great. That's all we ever wanted to do.
I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either way, I feel like this is going back to Corpus for a second. Have you ever talked to the guy who like watches over her statue?
Yes, I have. I haven't talked to the guy who watches over the statue, but I may or may not have gotten a call from the Quintanilla family.
Whoa.
Especially early on when we were doing, we are a banda that is in their good graces for the most part. They called us early on to let us know kind of what the rules were, what they were and we're not okay with. And, we want to be respectful always of what, like Selena, they are the keepers of the Selena key to the castle. So we want to make sure that we're staying on their good side and that they like us and that they know that this is all coming from a place of respect. So I have talked to them and they've let us know what we can and not can't do, but we can, what they're okay with and what they're not okay with. So it's been really, it's been great.
Well, I feel like he would have said like you captured the essence just as much as anyone. I feel like you have the passion for it, so it makes total sense.
I super do.
You got the family's version of that. That's even better. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's super crazy. It's super crazy. So people like, I've lived my whole life just trying to look like Selena. I learned how to do my makeup because I wanted to look like Selena, but
yeah.
She is on everything. I've seen her like on Candles, and I've seen her like there's a Netflix show coming out 26 years after she's passed away. There's an entire Netflix series that people are super excited about, and
I mean, that's really important. I mean, sorry, I interrupted.
You're fine.
I mean, I feel like urban Latin music is so popular right now. I mean, it's like it is top of the charts. It's everywhere, and then not just in the American charts, it's worldwide. Like reggaeton, cumbias, and salsas are in. Like that's, and that's what everybody wants to hear, no matter what. And I feel it all comes so much from Tejano music in a lot of ways as well, because not that Selena's playing Tejano music necessarily, but her style was so early on in what is now recognized as like canon. It's there.
Yeah. She like it is no lie when people used to be like, she was the Mexican Madonna. Like everyone wanted those bustiers. Everyone wanted to look like Selena, wear the red lipstick and do the whole thing.
full Cubana, and she has a perfect Halloween costume. She's won 3 different Selena lookalike contests, and it's really creepy how many inroads we have in terms of our joy for this person. But I think you could ask pretty much any Latin person from Texas, and you can get a very similar answer.
Absolutely. And, you know, like I've talked to, like, it's so funny. I'm not going to call the person out, but I will call the band out. We were playing a show with Quiet Company. Do you know Quiet Company?
Yeah, I'm actually old friends with Taylor.
Okay, so I was talking to Matt from Quiet Company one time, and he was telling me this story about, he's like, I didn't even know who Selena was until I moved to Texas. He's from Michigan. I think he's from Michigan. Mm-hmm. He's like, I didn't even know who that was. I'm like, dude, like, she was everything. Like, you know, I remember where I was the day she passed away. You know, we've done major corporate events for, like, HEB, Bank of America, Alamo Draft House. Like, she is so Texas, and like it's so fascinating to me that people. Oh yeah, this is my okay. So little like insider story. You guys can use this, Dana. You guys, if you want to. But one of the things they told us that they were like we needed to be wary of is that when we started the band, they're like, please don't use her logo and don't use her picture in any of your posters or graphics or anything like that. I'm like, okay, we can do that. So there's a clause in our contract that says I need to review all of our marketing materials before they go out. This is my body and my personal property, and if I want to hold my microphone in this hand and have someone take a picture of me so that people can identify what exactly it is that we do, that's kind of, it's a loophole. I mean, I would have probably done this anyway, but this is my loophole. Yeah, my marketing mind says that this is my loophole. Like, I can put a tattoo of whatever I want on my body. So
I mean, good to know. I'm about to get really, really creative with some brand names.
I mean, it was an extreme, but also like she's a huge part of my life. She, you know, like anywhere we go, anywhere in the country that we go, someone always will come up to me after a show, and I'm getting a little bit like reminiscent of like playing live shows. Like I miss, but anytime we play a show, someone always will come up to us after a show and give me a Selena story, and I feel so fortunate and blessed to be in receipt of that. I feel like I should have been writing this down or writing a book or like recording it or something, because everyone has a Selena story. It's just, you know, like it's so special and so important. And like Selena was my religion, you know, growing up as a kid, and like to be able to implement her music and utilize her style to make my voice heard is super special.
Yeah.
I have a question for you before we hop off, and it's just something that there's no wrong answer, but I did a panel for the Austin 360 a couple of weeks ago about the role of Latinx musicians in the social movement that is Black Lives Matter. And there's no wrong answer, but I'd love to just hear your feedback, because I'm kind of like not canvassing, but it's just interesting to me, and like I'd love to know what your thoughts are on that.
You know, I think like, and this might be a role from beyond just people who are Latinx, but I do believe that like everybody's role right now is to center voices of color, not necessarily hold them higher than like you would normally because you feel like you have to, but like center them, like make sure they are front and center where they belong with everybody else. Like that's what we need to be doing first and foremost. I think Latinx musicians also need to identify who they are as white people. I think that's super important. I'm half white. I mean, I've grown up in Austin, which is mostly white, and I've grown up as a white person because I had the option to. I think that like was not a choice that I made. I think I just like that's what happened. It's been a lot of unlearning for me to get to know my own heritage, and it's been super sad because I really want other people to understand like where your place is, but I know between me and my partner's families, we have people who are aware of their identity to an extent, but I think specifically we need to be aware of our whiteness as well.
That like you could, I have like, if I could be an emoji that has hearts in my eyes, I would. That is such a good answer. It's such an important answer. You know, I'm from East Austin. I grew up around Black and brown faces, and I have lived my entire life with some semblance of fear of the police. And I could almost pass as a white person, you know? And
I've never gotten a warning instead of a ticket is like,
right. Absolutely. I've lived my entire life with some fear of that. And, you know, I could be white passing. So I think it's incredibly important to continue to amplify the voices of the voiceless, the people who have been historically voiceless and people who have been historically undermined. You know, there's a very important election coming up in November, and you know, it was not even 100 years ago where in places like El Paso, Texas, there were signs on the doors of businesses that said, no Black people, no Mexicans, no dogs.
In a fully blue city. Yeah.
In a fully blue city. So it's very real, and it's very important that we are in a place, America is in a place where we can never stop talking about amplifying Black voices.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really just happy to hear that, and that's something that I kind of been passively talking about with my friends and with my family, who I'm super proud of. I went to visit my parents last weekend, and for the first time, like on three different occasions, my Mexican American family, my mother and father could have used a person's race as a way to identify them, and they didn't.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I guess one more thought, if you have the time.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I'm here for it.
Like the phrase "white passing" too. I feel like I maybe I don't want to get too much into this, but I just feel like it's taken me a lot of time to unlearn that phrase, because it's like, why are we trying to pass? Is that, you know, we just need to be aware of our whiteness. We need to be aware of our privilege, but privilege does not equate to what we should be achieving for. You know, we should be achieving for equity and achieving equality ultimately. But I think, like white passing as a phrase, like, I've been white passing my whole life. And it wasn't until like weeks ago that I was like, I learned about this like idea that white passing is maybe not necessarily the best phrase to use for yourself because of that ideal sort of mentality. But like, it wasn't until a couple weeks ago where I was like, okay, I really get it. Like, we really need to understand what equity to equality ultimately means. And that's when we can all say, like, maybe we're colorblind, you know?
Certainly. I do think that a lot of us in the last 6 to 8 months have had that moment where, like, I don't know about you, but I've woken up in the middle of the night and been like having that mind blow moment. I'm like, why do I need to be white passing? Why do I care about this so much? Why, like, you know what I mean? Why can't, it's definitely been something that I think about, and I am so happy to talk to you about this. I'm so happy to meet you and also talk to you about these very important.
I want to see your band again.
Yeah. Oh, you've been to one of the shows?
For sure. I can't. I might have been at that Empire one. I mean, you guys have played many times at Empire, but I don't know. I've been plenty of packed ones.
We've done Empire twice. We've done shows with Peligrosa. We did the Peligrosa 9th anniversary show, and then we did the Mohawk a lot, and like.
Is Pachanga gonna come back in it ever again?
Pachanga actually is a concert series now that's happening at ACL Live. So, you know, I know that there are other Latinx music festivals that are happening in Austin, but Pachanga has evolved into a concert series at ACL Live. So
that makes sense. Yeah.
Great. Well, I'm so happy to chat with you. I'm so happy to meet you.
Likewise.
This has been fascinating, and let's connect on socials after this. Cool. I'll find you on Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff.
Likewise, I said that for the third time. But thanks everybody for listening as well.
Yes, thank you so much. Thanks, Dana, and thanks, Rachel. And we will catch you guys very soon. Thanks.
Peace.
Bye.